Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my solo progression towards defeating Easy Lucid. As you can see by my level, it's been a while since I've cleared my first set of weeklies. The last part that I uploaded where I went through all the bosses was about 3 weeks ago, so wherever I left off on the previous part, I've done about 3 weeks worth of progress, and I wanted to make a video with a complete update about what I've done up to this point. You can see I'm already almost like 230, so a lot of things have happened, and I wanted to go through all the upgrades that I've made and all the extra gains that I've made along the way. The first thing I wanted to talk about, of course, is that we've had some pretty big events that have come by, including things like Sunny Sundays and also DMT. So I've tried to take advantage of all these events to make some massive gains, and it's all added up to creating this character and setting it up for success. Before I go into too much detail about my gear and upgrades, I need to go through some of the things that I've been working on in the background. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was my Luminous. In the previous video, I featured my Lumi for a short amount of time, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about why I've chose Luminous to do as my second burning character. So if you guys don't know, after reaching 200 for this event, you get an extra Terra Burninator from the event, which allows you to power level a new character to 200. I decided to go with Luminous because Lumi has an amazing link skill at level 210, which is 20% IED. For most people, this would be best in slot, so I decided that I wanted to push this one to 210 to make it easier to clear Lotus, Damien, and eventually Lucid. The Terra Burninator helped me get my Lumi to level 200, and then currently right now with the Destiny event minigame and of course the Stellar Pass EXP potions, I should be able to have a level 210 Lumi quite soon. On top of training my Lumi, I also capped coins on it as often as I could to use it to buy things from the event shop so I could save the coins on my Corsair. Another character that I've been leveling up is my Demon Avenger. Again, in the previous part, I mentioned how I was starting to bonk the character, and when I say bonk, I mean using extreme growth potions that give you a random amount of levels from level 141 onwards to try to get the DA to level 200. Unfortunately for me, I only managed to get him to level 196, so I have to wait for more potions to get him to level 200. I have some potions coming up in the monthly daily gift, so hopefully that will help me get to level 200. Once I get it to level 200, I'll also be able to put this character through the event minigame to try to get it closer to level 210, much like how I'm pushing my Luminous at the moment. As for the next upcoming characters, I'll be working on some more damage links, specifically for training, so then I'll be able to push for more levels very soon. I'll explain why I wanted to push these training links in just a bit. For the third Terra Burning we get in this event, I'll be waiting for the second part of Destiny where I might be able to make a Beast Tamer, assuming it's available for creation. Otherwise, if Beast Tamer isn't available, I'll be making a Demon Slayer instead. The reason for this is because I want to be able to push the level 210 links with the Terra Burninator, and I think that both Demon Slayer and Beast Tamer are very valuable links. Anyway, I think that's enough about the background information. Let's get to talking about my Corsair and what I've done so far. Over the last few weeks, I've been gathering more meso through Ursus, Maple Tour, weekly bosses, and my daily bosses. By doing these consistently, I've been making about 2 bill every week, which is a pretty sizable income, and with this money, I've been holding it on for events that will occur. On top of this, I've been pretty diligent about my dailies, especially running my Arcane River dailies and my 7 monster parks each day. Just from doing these over the last couple of weeks, I've almost reached level 230, which is pretty amazing EXP progress. Being able to push for levels is amazing because I can unlock more areas in the Arcane River, so then I can get more arcane symbols, which add a significant amount of stat and damage. And of course, the Monster Park EXP is amazing and it adds up every time I do 7 a day, and it makes a lot of progress towards the Monster Park medal, which eventually will become my best in slot. Regarding my training, I've only used one totem so far on this character, and that was because I got it from the daily gifts and it was expiring. Combining this with the 2x coupons that were given in the Mitra's EXP box for hitting level 200 or something, I pushed my Corsair from level 223 to 225. And ever since that totem, I haven't really trained my character via grinding. I've just been doing my dailies and Monster Park, and like I said, the EXP really does start to add up. I'll explain why I really tried to avoid training until this point, because we have to make some very specific upgrades before I wanted to commit to some totems. Let's move on and talk about the first major event and major gear upgrade that we have. The first event, of course, that I wanted to talk about was the Sunny Sunday that we had on the 26th of June. On that week, we had a 30% off Starforce event, where every Starforce attempt is 30% cheaper, except for the safeguarded stars, which are only 15% off instead. This event was the first time that I decided to push any stars on this channel past 12, and the main reason for this is because it tends to be quite expensive, so waiting for an event is the best way to make the most out of your money. On top of that, to be able to clear up to easy Lucid, I really do need my gear to be quite well upgraded, so I need to actually start pushing these high stars past 12. For those of you who don't know, when you Starforce above 10 stars, whenever you fail the Starforce itself, it will make you drop 1 rank, but it won't go below 10 stars. On top of that, every time that you Starforce above 12, there's a small chance of the item being destroyed. For me, my goal and my budget for the 30% off was to try to get my CRA gear to 15 stars. Of course, at this point, I didn't have very many copies of the CRA gear, so I didn't want to tap them directly in fears that it might blow up. To do this without wasting too many resources, I decided to Starforce Pensilia gear instead to get them to 16 star, and then transfer them onto the CRA. With only 3 bill originally in my wallet, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to make much progress, but assuming on average it only costs 1 bill to get any of them to 16 stars, I felt pretty comfortable that I could get at least my CRA gear to 15 star. The original idea was to try to just transfer the 16 star Pensilia gear onto the CRA gear to make it into 15 star, and then wait around for a 5, 10, 15 event to push the CRA gear further. Thankfully for this event, I got the 16 stars on the Pensilia pretty cheap, even considering that it was a 30% off. When I went for the 16th star, I made sure to do it with Safeguard, even though it is probably a bad idea, but I just really didn't want to deal with the item blowing up 15 to 16 and then trying for 15 star all over again. With the remainder of my meso, I wanted to make the most out of the event, so I started working on my shoes to try to get them to 15 star as well. I got very lucky on these shoes and they just went straight to 15 pretty much. Afterwards, I decided to try my luck again to see if I can get my gloves to 15 star. Again, my Corsair just wanted to be really lucky and I rolled it within a 300 mil. It seems a bit strange to go for 15 star on Von Leon gear, but the main reason for this is because these will be a future investment, because I do plan on transferring the stars up a few times into my eventual Absolab gear. After the shoes and the glove, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do to spend my money, because most of the main items that I wanted to push were already 15 star, and my Pensilia photos were pretty much done and waiting to be transferred onto my CRA gear. At this point, I decided to try Starforcing my Zakum cape. I chose this item to do next to 15 because it also is a fodder for Absolab gear, and also it can be reflamed into something decent, which might be able to beat out Tyrant cape that I was wearing at the time. With some amount of struggle, I did manage to hit the 15 star within about 400 mil. At this point, I was left with about 600 mil left on my character, and I was tempted to honestly leave the gear as it was, but I knew that we weren't going to have a Starforcing event anytime soon, so I decided just to high roll and keep pushing my gear as much as I could. The reason why I wanted to really make the most out of the event is because Starforce is so important when the stars are above 15. Because not only will it give you more stat each star, it also gives you a decent amount of attack, which adds a lot of damage. Every star above 15 will give you a number of weapon attack, and once you get a lot of high stars above 15, your range increases significantly even though your stat doesn't really move as much. Knowing that my shoes, glove, and cape were eventually going to be fodder equipment, I decided to try my luck to see if any of them would hit 16 stars for that little bit of extra attack. In 200ml, I managed to hit 3 items to 16, which is a fantastic amount of damage gains, and thankfully it did not cost too much, especially considering that I safeguarded all of these stars. So now I had the extra 3 stars with attack that I got for the Starforce, and my fodders are pretty much ready for transition once I can work towards my Absolab gear. With 300ml left, I decided to call it and transferred over my Pencilier gear into my CRA. This actually made the CRA gear better than the temporary gear, so I can actually transition away from the rental CRA and use the real deal. Remember when I said that was it? I was wrong. I spent the rest of my money and the money that I got from that day's daily bosses to try to push my luck once again to try to get those 16th stars on my CRA gear. These were very expensive because I had to safeguard everything from the 15 to 16 star, and my pants did eventually hit the 16 star, but it took about 500ml. Now, I ran out of money. Except I remembered that I had the final stage box from the Reboot beginner box. On the final stage of the box, it actually gives you a cool 200ml. So let's go and try this again, but this time on the hat. I managed to get lucky and got the one tap on the hat to get it to 16 star. Then with the remainder of the 200ml, I went for the 16th star on my top, and I managed to hit the 16th star. What an insane Starforcing event. This has easily been one of the best Starforcing events I've ever had across both of my accounts across so many characters. I've never hit so many stars within such a little amount of meso. Unbelievable, honestly. So not only did I hit 6 15 stars across 6 items, I also got all of them to 16, including the CRAs, which also became 16. That's actually insane for how little I spent. I spent just over 2 bill. In the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot, but to get 6 16 stars within 2 bill is unreal. And then I hit a great flame for the top. I originally wasn't going to transpose the top or transfer the top because the given one was better, but I don't know, I guess I am speechless right now. I cannot believe. These is so much gains because these aren't even potted at the moment. These are better than my current gear without any potential. I cannot believe what just happened. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was my inner ability. On July 3rd, we had a 50% off ability resets, which allows us to roll twice as much pretty much on our inner ability. Up to this point, I got about 400k honor, and I wanted to use it to roll at least legendary, then hopefully hit Meso Obtained as my top line. For this series, I intentionally avoided playing a class that required an important line like attack speed +1 or 20% cooldown skip for the top line, so I could be greedy and go for Meso Obtained as my top line. In my opinion, Meso Obtained is pretty much the best inner ability in the game just because of how much you train and grind in this game. It gives you access to so much meso while you're training or while even just doing your dailies, and it will add up to a lot of gains in the long run. Alongside this, while re-rolling my inner ability, I made sure to buy out the event shop's honor medals to make the most out of the 50% reset event. After some struggle getting my line from unique to legendary, I did manage to hit Meso Obtained for my top line. On top of that, I also managed to hit cooldown skip on the unique tier, which is pretty usable for Corsair. Unfortunately, the Meso line was only 20%, which is the lowest number you can get for the top line, so what I did was I went and used the last of my coins to go to the event shop to buy Chaos Circulators. These circulators let you keep the tier of your inner ability and has a chance of re-rolling the value. And because I knew that the 18% was as low as the Mesa line could get, I didn't have really anything to lose, and I just went for it. Luckily for me, I managed to hit 20% with one Chaos Circulator, and also I gained 1% extra on the CD skip. Overall, the inner ability event went as well as it could have. I got the 20% Meso line that I wanted, and I also got a bonus out of it, which was my 8% cooldown skip line. Now we're moving on to what I think was the biggest and most important event so far in my progression. The event that I'm going to be talking about is Magical Miracle Time, previously known as Double Miracle Time, or DMT. In this event, the tier up rates for potentials when using red and black cubes are doubled, and there is also a chance that when you tier things up, you get a double tier up, for example from rare to unique. For this particular event, I had saved up about 5 bill, and I had some specific goals in mind. I didn't expect to get too much done when cubing because it can be quite volatile, so my main goals were generally quite straightforward. The first thing before anything else is that for this particular event, I was only spending on black cubes. In other words, I didn't care which lines or what lines my gear got, I just wanted them to get to legendary or as high as they could get. And then I'll re-roll the gear at a later time. The double tier up rate was just way too good to give up, and re-rolling won't get any cheaper unless Nexon randomly hits us with a cube sale, but I highly doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. The first few items that I had in mind to tier up to legendary were my emblem and secondary. The reason for this is because both the emblem and secondary can get attack lines, which is significantly better than the stat lines, so these are the priority over anything else. The unique emblem that they gave us saved me some money from having to re-roll it to unique in the first place, so I was happy spending less to get it to the legendary tier. As for my secondary, I actually had to prepare a little bit beforehand because I wanted to use the Princess Number secondary. You can get the secondary by claiming 15 of Pinot's symbols, which you get from clearing her about 2 to 3 times. And the Pinot secondary is ever so slightly better than the Frozen one, so I was pretty happy that I got it just in time before the event. Thankfully, the secondary, when I was tiering it up, got to legendary quite quickly. The emblem on the other hand took a bit to get to legendary, but in the end we got there, and overall pretty cheap thanks to DMT. The next items that I started working on were very important to my progression, and they were either going to make my progression significantly easier or delay it somewhat. First off, I wanted to try to get all the accessories to unique. I didn't want to take too many risks and high roll the accessories one by one to legendary, on the off chance I get extremely unlucky and I only end up tiering a few of them. By rouletting my gear like this, worst case I'll have at least some legendaries hopefully, and some uniques that can be used to help me train and do bosses. One of the pieces of gear that I haven't mentioned up to this point is I actually got a real Dominator pendant on a previous Arcarium run. This Dominator pendant will be replacing the fake one that we got from the box once it gets a good potential line. Once all my gear got to unique, I started going one by one and tried to tier them up to legendary. Here was when I started getting a little bit nervous because unique to legendary, even with the double tier up rates, can be quite volatile and anything can happen. For example, my earring was quite stubborn trying to get to epic to unique tier, but it went to legendary quite fast, but some of my items got randomly stuck on unique. With the leftover cubes, I decided to put them onto my CRA gear. These gears were probably the least priority because CRA and armor pieces in general tend to have a lot of bad lines when you're trying to reroll them, so I wasn't looking forward to trying to reroll them for proper lines, but I just threw the remainder of my black cubes after all my accessories went to legendary, and if any of them hit legendary, good for me. If they didn't, then no complaining really. Luckily for me, they went pretty well, and I got 2 of them to legendary and 1 of them to unique. So I just finished up with my DMT cubing, and I gotta say, it was pretty impressive. The luck was pretty iffy at the start, but it evened out towards the end of the session. At the beginning, I got stuck on a few epics to unique tier-ups, but at the end, I got some pretty quick legendaries, so it made up for it. So let's quickly just go through the gear that I've got through this event, and I'll talk about what actually happened during it, because I got some really strange lines that I had to consider what I wanted to do with them. I'll start off with what I've got in so far. So I've intentionally taken off my pendants because these are the ones that gave me a little bit of grief, but let's just go through what I have. So my intention with this character at first is to get the main things to Legendary, which was the emblem and the secondary. So both of them are currently at Legendary. Everything that's Legendary right now probably doesn't have any lines because I just focused on tiering up. I spent all my money on tiering things up, and I'll re-roll them at another time. So I've got the emblem and secondary to Legendary, so that's good. Then I've got all the accessories to Legendary, so I've got all my rings to Legendary, and eye and face, earring, and then my 2 pendants. I'll get to those in a second. And then with the spare cubes that I had, I tried throwing them on my CRA, and my hat got to unique. The top went to Legendary, and the pants went to Legendary as well. So overall, pretty good amount of tier ups across 5 bill. And let's go through the pendants, because these ones are a little bit silly. So to start off, this was my original pendant that I got from the box for level 220. So not much to say here, but I got lucky enough to get a Dom pendant drop pretty early into the run. So I think 2 weeks into doing Arcarium, I got the Dominator pendant. So I decided to cube this and use it as drop gear. But you can see here, when I actually tiered it up to Legendary, it hit 3 line of dex. So I was thinking to myself, well, I kind of don't want to roll away 3 line of dex because it can be pretty expensive and it's a bit of a waste to throw it away. So I decided to work on another alien pendant. You can see 2 of them on the side here, because when I did the alien PQ, I had so many spares. I had like 3 spare pendants, and I wasn't going to use them, but I guess it worked out that I held on to them because my other alien pendant I was originally using also hit 3 line of dex. So both of these are pretty good damage gear for the time being because it gives you so much stat at the moment. So I decided to use 2 of the spare pendants that I had from the alien PQ when I was doing them, and I decided to tier them both to Legendary. And the intention of these was just to get them to Legendary. I wasn't looking for any particular lines at the moment because, like I said, I'm going to re-roll everything to get Meso drop gear. So yeah, that's my entire DMT. Fantastic event. DMT is by far one of the best events to tier up, alongside maybe a 50% cube sale because it's kind of the same thing. But yeah, this is amazing gains, and I'm really looking forward to actually working on this gear now that everything's Legendary and try to look for the right lines that I'm trying to get for this character. Speaking of the right lines, what I did pretty much right after my DMT was I went onto my Lumi to buy out the Meister cubes that were in the event shop. These cubes are effectively red cubes for my purposes, and I got them so that I could re-roll my accessory lines. My intention with the accessories was to make them into Meso drop gear, and for those who don't know, Meso drop gear is an essential part of progression where it allows you to make a significant amount of Mesos while training. The end goal for the accessories is to have 5 lines of Meso obtained, and the rest of them being drop rate. This way, we will guarantee every mob dropping a Meso bag while maximizing the amount of Mesos that actually drops from each bag. So I decided to buy out the shop with my Luminous. I decided to get all the 20 Meister cubes that you get from the event shop, and I used all the coins I got while coin capping along the way to get my Luminous to 200, and I managed to use all 20 of them on my accessories to get them into something useful. I'll show you guys in a second, but the reason why I didn't do my emblem and secondary is that I figured that in 20 cubes I probably wasn't going to hit something that I wanted to keep. For these 2 slots, you definitely want to go for at least 2 useful lines. Any combination of pretty much attack and ID or attack and boss damage I would probably keep, or attack and attack. And I didn't think I would hit that in 20 cubes, so I decided to try my luck on my accessories, and it went pretty well. I was pretty much looking for any line with Meso obtained or item drop, and I just got pretty much all the gear to at least one line of item drop or Meso obtained. Some of them are luckier than others, with a little bit of stat on them. Like this one has got Meso and Dex, this one has item drop and Dex, item drop all stat, and so on. So right now I only went for just any of the lines between the two Meso obtained and item drop. But what I'm going to have to do is I need to have 5 lines of Meso obtained. So I'm going to have to reroll some of these item drops away. Thankfully some of them don't have any stat on them, like this Power Crystal. It doesn't have Meso plus stat, so I can pretty much roll this away at a later time. And the goal here is to get to 100% Meso obtained, which is the highest you can get. That way you can get as much money as you can when you train. So that is going to be my next goal regarding cubing my accessories. After that I will go for my emblem and secondary to get some attack lines and some other useful bossing lines. Overall this is a gain because my previous items didn't even have more than 6% stat, and now I have random items with up to 10%. So even though that I lost a little bit of stat while rerolling for these lines, I think that this would be worth it because it will make training significantly better, and the money that you get along the way while training will be used to make better gear. And with that, I think we will come to the end of this part. Thank you guys for joining me so far on this journey. I really appreciate the support that you guys have given me. To finish off this video, let's just quickly go one last time through everything so then you guys can have a clear look at what I've got so far. So obviously, the brand new accessories, all of them have at least one line drop or Meso with them, with the various lines of stat. I actually rolled away 2 of these drop lines and they are now currently Meso, so now I'm sitting at 100% Meso, which is what I want. I still have some things to fix just yet because my pants still have nothing and my top only has 1 line, so there's still some room of improvement. There are some updates though. I did roll my secondary to get some proper lines, so damage, boss damage, and attack is pretty fine. It's not the best secondary, but it's very usable. On top of that, I have 2 other pendants for my damage gear, so I showed the triple dex lines on both my pendants, so these will be swapped in and out when I train and when I boss, so then I can make the most out of my gear. So we're sitting at nicely at 11k. It could probably be a little bit more because I saved a lot of money and I couldn't upgrade my arcane symbols, and I've been spending a lot of my money on cubes just to reroll everything into usable lines. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you all have a wonderful day and are enjoying the journey so far. In the next one, you guys are going to see something amazing, or maybe I'll put it at the end of this video if you guys stayed long enough. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to close it out like normal. I hope you guys enjoy the next clip. What just happened?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Can I kick him? I'm kicking him! I'm kicking him! I'm kicking him.
There's no way. What the fuck? They kicked me out of the Discord.
Oh my god!
What just happened?
Oh my god!
Well then.
Okay.
Okay then, yo. Oh shit, man.